Minecraft has entered the Copper Age. The newest game drop is here, adding a whole bunch of new copper themed items including blocks, mobs, armor, and more. Today we're going to be taking a look at all the new features that this update has to offer, so stick around to the end of the video so you don't miss everything new, and without further ado let's jump straight into the Copper Age game drop. So the main feature of this update is of course the Copper Golem. The Copper Golem lost a mob vote to the alley back in 2021 but has now been officially added to the game. This is really cool to see because this could mean more fan favourite mob vote losers will be added in the future. So to spawn your own Copper Golem, all you have to do is place a carved pumpkin on top of a copper block and you'll get a Copper Golem and also a copper chest. You can also use a spawn egg if you're in creative mode, and the copper chest can also be crafted by surrounding a regular chest in 8 copper ingots just like this. So the Copper Golem acts as a simple redstoneless item sorting system. So as you can see, it is currently checking this chest for items. So if we go ahead and put in cobblestone, oak planks and a copper sword, the Copper Golem will start taking items out of the chests. Then it's going to start searching all of the regular chests until it finds one that has cobblestone in it. And as you can see there, it put the cobblestone into the chest. So the Copper Golem can only take stacks of 16 at a time. So to store an entire stack, it will have to make 4 trips to the chest. But as you can see, it is currently sorting all of the items that I've put in the copper chest into the matching chests. And not only that, it can even sort non-stackable items. So for the first time in vanilla Minecraft, we have an easy way of sorting non-stackable items, which is going to be really good for farm building. So as you can see, this chest now has 2 copper swords in it. And the Copper Golem has finished sorting all of my items. So just like every other copper block, as you can see, my Copper Golem and copper chest have started to oxidize. But as always, you can use an axe to scrape off the oxidation on both the golem and the chest, and you can also wax them both to stop them from oxidizing. And once they reach the oxidized blue stage, they will eventually freeze and turn into a Copper Golem statue. Once again, you can scrape off the oxidation levels on the Copper Golem statue to turn them back into the other oxidation states. And if you have a Copper Golem statue in the first stage, you can scrape it off again and it will actually turn back into a Copper Golem. So that's how you bring them back to life once they've turned into a statue. So the Copper Golem statue is actually a really cool decoration for your world. And similar to an armor stand on Bedrock Edition, they actually have different poses. So all you gotta do is right click on them and they will change pose. So these are the 4 different poses. You've got a normal standing one, a sitting one, a running one, and this one looks like he's opening his arms out for a hug and jumping up at you, which is really cute. And each pose of the Copper Golem statue also gives off a redstone signal using a comparator. So the standing one gives a signal strength of 1, the sitting gives a signal strength of 2, the running gives a signal strength of 3, and the huggies one gives a signal strength of 4. So this mechanic is super useful for things like combination locks. So you can have these guys outside of your door, and if you get the right combination of poses, the door will open, which is super fun to do. And let me know in the comments if you want a tutorial for this kind of thing. But the final thing for the Copper Golem is actually a rare Easter egg that can happen where the Iron Golem will actually give a Copper Golem a poppy, similar to how the Iron Golem gives villager children a poppy. It is kind of rare, so I'm just going to spawn it in with a command block right here. And as you can see, the poppy is placed on top of the little lightning rod antenna thing on the Copper Golem, which looks really funny. So if you see this in your world, definitely keep it, because it's actually a pretty rare Easter egg. So the next feature in this update is copper tools and armor. So this is what the armor and the sword looks like on an armor stand. The copper tools fall in between stone and iron, so they're really useful in the early game. And the copper armor falls between leather and chainmail when it comes to protection, which you can now also see in the creative inventory, as it now shows the armor rating when worn by the player. So as you can see, leather gives +3 armor, copper gives +4 armor, and chainmail gives +5 armor for the chest plates. So the copper tools and armor will be really useful in the early game because you can get a lot of copper quite early on. So it will give you a little bit more protection as you hunt for your first bit of iron. And this is what the armor looks like on the player. I think it looks really cool, but I may just be biased because it's orange. And as you can see, it takes up 5 armor slots on the hotbar. So currently the copper armor and tools only come in the orange color, but it would be really cool to see the armor and tools slowly oxidize over time, and it could maybe be tied to durability. So the less durability you have, the more oxidized the armor and tools are. And of course, just like every other armor, you can put armor trims on there. This is the silence armor trim using diamonds, and I think it looks really cool because it gives the copper armor that blue effect. But the final piece of copper equipment is the copper horse armor. This is what it looks like on a horse. The copper horse armor is currently uncraftable, but you can find it in structure chests. As you can see, I found one in this blacksmith chest right here. But they can also be found in dungeons, desert temples, and anywhere else that you can find the other forms of horse armor. So before we move on to all the new copper blocks, I just want to quickly mention the copper nugget, which can be crafted by putting a copper ingot into the crafting grid, which will give you 9 copper nuggets. The copper nugget will be useful for some of the recipes for the new copper blocks you're about to see, and unfortunately, despite the name, you can't eat these. The next feature we're going to take a look at is all of the brand new copper blocks. There's not too much to say about these as they are just retextures of already existing blocks, but I'll show you guys the crafting recipes and everything else that you need to know about them. So the first block we have is the new copper bars. Now these do look a little bit weird in vibrant visuals. I'm not sure what's happening here. There seems to be a bit of a visual bug. They look a little bit more like iron bars than copper bars, but I'll throw up a picture on screen of what they're meant to look like. So to craft these, all you need is 6 copper ingots in the crafting table just like this. So this actually used to be the copper trapdoor recipe, but now obviously if you do this it gives you 16 copper bars. So the new copper trapdoor recipe is just 4 in the grid like this, and it gives you 2 copper trapdoors, similar to how the iron trapdoor crafting recipe works. So it's nice to see that copper trapdoors have now gotten cheaper thanks to this new crafting recipe. So moving on to the next block, we now have copper chains in the game, and these are crafted with 2 copper nuggets and 1 copper ingot, similar to how the regular chain was crafted. And if we take a look in the creative inventory, the regular chain has now been renamed to the iron chain, and the copper lanterns fit really well with the copper chains, just like the regular lantern does with the iron chain. Which brings us on to our next block, which is of course the copper lantern. Now to craft these, you surround the new copper torch with 8 copper nuggets. And unfortunately, these don't emit a lower light level the more oxidized it is, like the copper bulb does, which I think is a missed opportunity, to be honest. I think it's a really unique feature that all of the light emitting copper blocks should have. But finally, our last block is an update to the lightning rod that was added all the way back in 1.17. So now the lightning rod can oxidize just like the other copper blocks, and the recipe hasn't changed. It's still 3 copper ingots in a line just like this. But all of the copper blocks that I just mentioned can of course all oxidize and can be waxed to stop them oxidizing further. And finally, the last block we have is the copper torch. This functions exactly the same as a regular torch, and you craft it by adding a copper nugget to the regular torch recipe. And again, similar to a torch, it gives you 4 copper torches. Now, with the addition of the copper torch comes a very funny Easter egg, where if you combine all 4 different colors of torches, you can now make the Microsoft Windows logo, which, as we all know, Microsoft owns Minecraft, so whether this was intentional or not, I don't know, but it's still a really funny detail to see in the game. But with that, that is every single new copper block in the Copper Age update, and we can now move on to the extra features that were also added. So along with all the copper feed blocks and updates, we've also got the shelf. The shelf comes in all 12 different wood types and can be crafted with 6 stripped logs of your choice. And that gives you 6 shelves, so it's 1 shelf per stripped log block. So the shelf works similar to an item frame in that you can put items on it, but they're actually better because you can store a whole stack of the item in 1 slot of the shelf. And you get 3 slots on the shelf, so that gives you 3 stacks of storage in total. And all you gotta do is right click the slot and you can easily take out and put in any item you want. Now, if you don't want to click each individual slot to take out the items, all you have to do is power it using redstone. So if we go behind here and flick this lever, you will see that the shelf model has actually changed and there's no longer lines between the slots to separate them. And now if I right click, it will take out all 3 items at once and put them in the right hand side of the hotbar. And this works the same with putting items in. All you gotta do is right click once and it will put the last 3 items in your hotbar into the shelf. But it doesn't stop there because you can actually connect up to 3 shelves in a line. So if you have 2 shelves connected like this, you can right click and it will put the last 6 items of your hotbar into the shelf. And the same if you take it out, it will put them all in the last 6 slots. So if you want to put something into the shelf, make sure it's in the last couple slots of your hotbar depending on how many shelves you have connected. And as you've probably guessed, if you have 3 shelves in a line like this, you can swap out your entire hotbar. And even if your hotbar is full, you can right click and actually swap out the items into the shelf. And the shelf can also interact with hoppers, so if I was to put a whole bunch of cobblestone into this chest, as you can see, the hopper is starting to fill up the shelf with cobblestone. So say I was building something and I ran out of cobblestone, I could come over here, interact with the shelf, and instantly get a whole bunch of cobblestone, and it would continue to refill my supplies, so I could come back and get some whenever I want. So the shelf has a lot of features to help with inventory management, so I'm interested to see how this will play out in the long term, with people using them for storage and for building. But not only is the shelf super useful for storing items, it can of course be used for building as well. So the texture of the shelf is super detailed and is great for something like a plant pot like I have here. But also the thickness of the shelf is super similar to a vertical slab, which a lot of the community has been asking for a while but hasn't been officially added. But now we have something super close to a vertical slab, which will be a game changer for detailing builds. But anyway, that is everything about the new shelf block in this update. The last feature in this update is that all 16 dye colours have been retextured. Each dye now has a unique shape to improve accessibility. Some of the shapes are still recognisable, like the red, orange and yellow dyes, but I think the new designs are a lot better than the old ones and fit modern Minecraft a lot more. It's really great that Mojang are going back to older features and reworking them to improve accessibility, and hopefully we'll see them tackle enchanted books in the future, because right now it's pretty hard to find the one you want, so having textures for each enchantment will make things a whole lot easier. As always, it wouldn't be a Minecraft update without a bunch of bug fixes and improvements, so I'll put some of them up on screen now if you want to take a look and see what's been fixed. But anyway, that just about wraps it up for the Copper Age game drop, so leave a like if you enjoyed the video or found it helpful. I've got a bunch of Copper Age videos planned over the next few weeks, so subscribe if you haven't already to stay up to date with all the latest Minecraft content when it drops. But anyway guys, my name is Orange Ninja, thank you so much for watching until the end, and I'll see you in the next video.